Hello everyone, this is Jason from Primetime Aquatics, and I am super excited to bring you the Simple Fish Keeping series. This is a place where we are going to ask a number of YouTubers the most important questions surrounding the fish keeping hobby. The people that we've asked have amassed over 6 million followers, have set up thousands of tanks, kept tens of thousands of fish, and probably bred just as many. It's always great to have multiple opinions for these key questions in the fish keeping hobby. That's what we hope to bring you here. But not only here, you're going to see these videos on other channels as well. Check out KG Tropicals. He is also going to be putting out videos, and you will see other channels put out videos with the same sort of theme. By the way, I have all of the YouTube channels that are presented in this video linked in the description below. Definitely give them a look. Appreciate you being here, and I hope you enjoy the video.
If you had to pick one fish tank size, what would it be and why? Okay, so for me, I gotta think of this as from the standpoint of, let's imagine I'm not a YouTuber, just regular hobbyist. I don't have a building dedicated to an aquarium gallery like this, and I gotta figure out the ideal aquarium size for within my house. Now, you can always go really big or too small, but if I only could have one size in my house, I'd probably go with a 75 gallon. Very specific reasons. It's still 4 feet long, but I get that 18 inches wide instead of like a 55 gallon that's only 12. It's not that tall either, only 21 inches deep, so it's not gonna be too difficult to light and or filter. I still have a large volume of water, yet it's not gonna come with the expenses of needing to get large equipment to run it all. Yet, I still have an amazing footprint that opens up the stocking and the selection more so than even in a 55 or, and if I were to go to a 90 gallon, all I'm really getting is more height, a little bit more water volume. I think a 75 is the perfect size, and if I can only have one tank in my house, like a normal person instead of this crazy stuff, be a 75 gallon.
Hey guys, I'm Taylor from Simply Betta, answering some of these fun questions for Primetime Aquatics. If all of a sudden I could only pick one fish tank size to have and to use, what would I pick? Probably the 20 gallon long. 20 gallon long is a nice footprint. There's a large variety of things that you can keep in it, but it's still small. If you're small like me, you can still move it around easily, and that's what I pick. I mean, I can throw dividers in there, I can keep a bunch of betta fish in there, or I could take the dividers out and have just this big range of fish that I could choose. Something along the guidelines of a 20 gallon long. Rimless tanks are really, really nice. So that's probably what I do.
If I had to pick one fish tank size, what would it be and why? Well, naturally, I'm gonna wanna say a 360 gallon like this one behind me, but I realize that's not doable in a lot of situations. So let's use something a little bit more common. One of my absolute favorite sized aquariums is a 125 gallon. That's a 6-foot tank that can fit in most rooms without completely dominating the room. And the best thing about it is when you go to that size, that 6-foot size, you introduce a whole new world of fish that you can put in there. You can get away from the small community fish or the small cichlids, and you can go with some of the big fellas like these behind me. So the versatility in the type of fish that you can keep, as well as the fact that it's not gonna dominate your room. I mean, it's a big tank, but it's not gonna be like having a car parked in your living room like this one would be. I wouldn't even entertain the idea of putting this tank in a living room. It's in a garage right now. But the other reason why I like 125 gallon is because they are everywhere and they're relatively inexpensive. I mean, they're not, you don't have to take out a second mortgage to get a tank that size. You can get one for relatively reasonable amounts of money. It's not hard to filter them. It's not too big to maintain them and all that kind of stuff. It's just kind of like that perfect size. It's not too overwhelming, but certainly not underwhelming either. So yeah, for the economics of the whole thing, for the versatility of it, you cannot go wrong with 125 gallons.
If I had to choose one tank size, it would have to be the humble 10-gallon aquarium. I primarily keep nano fish these days, and a 10-gallon is more than adequate for just about any fish I want to keep. Even with such a small size, you can make a big impact. This is a 10-gallon, both of these are 10 gallons, and so are all of these. It's just a great tank size that doesn't take up a lot of room. So if one tank just isn't enough for you, 10 gallons is probably the way to go.
So I've had basically every size tank up to 4 foot. I've had little cubes, medium-sized cubes, shallow tank, I've had all of them. Now, for me, if I had to pick one, having had that up to, well, I'd have an 8-foot tank if I could. Wouldn't we all pick that? 8-foot tank, please. But we can't have an 8-foot tank, can we? Unless we have a public sort of aquarium and a maintenance team. Maybe one day. But yeah, for me now, having had all the sizes and I can only have one, I would definitely go with a 4-foot tank. The reason being is that you can have some pretty decent sized fish in there, but you can also have massive shoals of small fish in there as well. It kind of can cater for everything. And if I only had one tank, I could focus fully on that 4-foot. I could get it looking absolutely insane all the time because it's just one tank to sort of focus on. There's also just a massive amount more you can do in that size in terms of aquascaping as well, different designs and that sort of thing.
So if I had to pick one fish tank size, well, I'm gonna pick two. I'm gonna break the rules a little bit here, but the one that I would pick for myself would be my 480 gallon, which is 4 foot by 8 foot by 2 foot, and it is like, it's the perfect tank for me. I love it. I love it. I love it. I can't wait to see what I keep in it next. So that is a tank that I would pick for myself. And I always say bigger is better when it comes to aquariums. The more water volume, the less of issues you're going to have, the less maintenance. Things aren't going to go wrong as fast if you do make mistakes, and so bigger is always better. But if I was talking hobbyist level, for me, I do a lot of shrimp, so I always recommend a 20-gallon long because it's got a great footprint, a lot of surface area for shrimp, and really it's a pretty cheap tank. It's not too big, it's not too small. If you make a mistake, it won't make a huge difference, but it's not also too small that evaporation is going to make a big difference in your tank. So that's why I would choose a 20-gallon long and also a 480-gallon.
Hey, I'm Mike from the YouTube channel Aqua Pros, and today I think we're going to be answering a couple questions. First question is, if you had to pick one fish tank size, what would it be and why? So for this one, I think it's pretty easy for me. We're gonna go with something as close to a 40 breeder as possible. And I know there's a lot of other tanks out there besides just those rimmed Aqueon 40 breeders that we all know and love. But something that has close to that 18 inches of front to back dimension, that's really a key for aquascaping, at least for me and the kind of scapes that I like to make. And it's big enough, 40, 50-ish gallons to where you can house quite a few different varieties of fish in it. So I'm gonna go with that.
I recommend one size fish tank. It would be a 10-gallon. I think it's very beginner friendly, super versatile. You can have a betta fish, community fish. It's not too big where you would need to have a stand and a whole dedicated space in your home. The 10-gallon fish tank can really be placed within your home office, just around your home, or in your fish studio.
Hi there, my name is Kasha and my channel is Creative Pet Keeping. I have a apartment fish room on the 5th floor with a lot of nano tanks, and I breed bettas and like shrimp and all sorts of other dwarf fish that I hope that you will enjoy if you want to check out my channel. So the first question is, if you had to pick one fish tank size, what would it be and why? So my favorite fish tank size to recommend is actually the 20-gallon long. It's my favorite ever tank because it is so flexible. A variety of fish really enjoy it, and it's also not too big where you can get really overwhelmed if you're a beginner fish keeper and don't want something too heavy for your very own house. But I think there's so much flexibility, and you can really set up a nice community tank. You can set up a divided betta tank or a single betta in a beautiful plant escape. The possibilities are endless.
Hi, I'm Carrie with Science Gal Aquatics, and today I'm excited to help answer a few questions with Primetime Aquatics. And the first question is, if I could pick one tank size, what tank would that be and why? And I would honestly have to say it's a pretty good toss-up between a 20 long and a 40-gallon breeder, but I would have to say the 40-gallon breeder would win out. This tank, I love its footprint. It's still a little bit on the smaller side, but it's plenty big enough that you can put a lot of different species of fish in this tank with no problem.
So if I had to pick one aquarium, it would definitely be the 40-gallon breeder. If you're not familiar with it, it's a 3-foot aquarium that's 16 inches tall and 18 inches front to back. Not only is this size tank easy to accommodate in most houses, it also has some additional benefits in terms of fish keeping. One of the benefits to this size aquarium is the surface area that it allows on the bottom for your bottom dwellers. Not only that, but when scaping or decorating your aquarium, you get that additional space front to back so that you can make some really nice designs, get some really decent depth in there, and be able to put in all different types of plants. When it comes to live plants, the 40-gallon breeder really does make it easy to set up a successful planted aquarium. Since it's only 16 inches tall, it can be lit by even low-budget LED lighting. Now that you've got this beautifully planted and decorated 40-gallon breeder, you can stock it with all sorts of different types of fish. You can do a small community tank and still have a lot more in there than you would get in a 10-gallon or a 20-gallon. You can do various breeding projects. I use them for pleco breeding projects amongst other things. Basically, the sky's the limit when it comes to the 40-gallon breeder. And that's why it is the one fish tank that I would choose. If I could only choose one aquarium.
What's cracking, YouTube? It's me, the Biz, Fishy Biz Aquatics, professional aquatics with the amateur touch. So amateurs, yep, get that professional look. And if you're asking me what I think a great size tank is, have to be a 40-gallon breeder. 40-gallon breeder, you're looking at a 3-foot tank, 18 inches wide, gives you plenty of great options to stock. We're talking about multiple small community fish. You can get some mid-sized Lake Tanganyikas in there. I'm using mine for a grow-out tank for my African cichlids because they're slow growers. Not to mention a 16-inch depth. That's a beautiful playground for you to aquascape in, and also makes a great idea tank for breeding projects. Not to mention it doesn't take up a lot of space in your house. And if you think about filtration, super easy. Throw you a couple of sponge filters in there, and if you want to throw a small hang on the back power filter, it's good to go. So yeah, 40-gallon breeder, can't go wrong there. It's good for any beginner, or if you're an expert hobbyist, get you a 40-gallon and see if your possibilities aren't endless. And tell them the Biz sent you. What you waiting for? Go do it. Like right now, go get one. Stock it up.
Hi, I'm Joanna with the Small Scape, and what is my favorite tank size? Well, it is the 8-gallon. It's usually 8.5, 8.25, somewhere around there. It's basically a cube, and they are actually right behind me. I scaped 4 of them, and ever since then, I absolutely love them because they're so versatile for different scapes, different fish, and you can put them pretty much anywhere.
So you probably saw a theme in this video, and we have mentioned all of these fish tanks in our video. What is the best fish tank on the planet? What is my favorite fish tank? I think it's the one right behind me, and that is the 50-gallon lowboy. I absolutely love that tank. It's not as common as the ones that were mentioned here, but I love the fact that it's got a 4-foot length, 24-inch width, and only a 10-inch height. It's got a great footprint for a lot of different types of fish. We have 2 of them in our fish room. One of them is housing our Neolamprologus multifasciatus, otherwise known as the multi-shell dweller. Absolutely love that tank. This one behind us is a planted tank that's filled with black mollies and a few other really cool fish. Again, if you want to know more about the creators here, check out the description below. Appreciate you being here, and we'll see you in the next one.